The galaxy had once been a thriving hub of interstellar life, a place of endless trade, cultural exchange, and scientific discovery. But all of that came to a sudden halt with the arrival of the Vrax plague. It wasn't a disease anyone had anticipated. The virus spread with unprecedented speed, cutting down entire species with horrifying efficiency. Its victims, once thriving societies, were reduced to dust in mere weeks. Alien cities fell silent, entire worlds were abandoned, and vast fleets of ships were left to drift aimlessly in the cold expanse of space. The Vrax plague was unlike anything ever seen. Its nature defied understanding. It didn't just target biological life, it could infect cybernetic organisms, technology, and even artificial intelligences. It adapted with terrifying swiftness, mutating every time scientists tried to find a cure or a way to combat it. Infected civilizations, having lost their medical expertise and social order, descended into chaos. Governments fell, alliances broke apart, and the few remaining survivors were left scrambling for any semblance of safety. The plague had no mercy, and soon, entire species were obliterated. But there was one planet that remained untouched: Earth. The humans who lived there seemed almost immune. While others fell to the plague, humanity persisted. At first, no one could explain it. The galaxy's greatest minds speculated that perhaps Earth's isolation, its distance from the infected star systems, had spared them. But as time passed, it became clear, it wasn't isolation that had protected humanity, it was something else entirely. The Vrax plague's merciless assault left nothing but questions in its wake. How had humanity avoided the fate of every other species? Were they simply lucky? Or was there something more to their survival than chance? This question echoed through the corridors of alien governments, through the fractured remnants of space stations, and in the whispers of the few surviving species. They were desperate to understand how the humans had managed to do what seemed impossible. In the midst of all the loss, humans showed no signs of weakness. They didn't retreat into fear or despair. Instead, they pressed forward, adapting with an almost reckless abandon. While other species had fallen into disarray, humanity's creativity, its tendency to push boundaries, its obsession with survival, seemed to work in their favor. The aliens watched, bewildered, as humans began to thrive where others had crumbled. The Vrax plague ravaged everything in its path, yet humans remained resilient. It wasn't long before the surviving species began to see Earth as their last hope. Desperation drove them to make contact. They broadcasted messages of plea, asking for humanity's help. But the real question lingered: how had humans managed to survive this plague? What was their secret? The galaxy was about to find out, and the answer, they would soon learn, was as unpredictable and chaotic as humanity itself. Humanity's survival wasn't due to luck, it was their madness. When the Vrax plague hit, the human response was nothing short of chaotic, but that chaos turned out to be their strength. Other species, with their rigid approaches to problems, were too slow to adapt. They followed protocols, hoped for miracles, and waited for scientific breakthroughs that never came. Humans, on the other hand, threw caution to the wind. They didn't wait for a cure, they created their own solutions, no matter how bizarre or dangerous they seemed. The initial response to the virus was panic, of course. But panic turned into action, and action became experimentation. Governments, hospitals, and independent scientists raced to test any theory that could give them an edge. It wasn't just about finding a cure, it was about surviving. Humanity didn't care about playing it safe or staying within the boundaries of conventional science. They tried everything: extreme quarantines, exposure therapy, genetic modification, even attempts to weaponize the virus against itself. While other species balked at these extreme measures, humanity embraced them, no matter the risk. One of the first breakthroughs came when humans started deliberately infecting themselves. They didn't wait for a vaccine, they used their own bodies to study the virus. Volunteers, aware of the risks, allowed themselves to be exposed to the virus, hoping their immune systems would either adapt or fail spectacularly. It was insanity. Yet, against all odds, it worked. The virus, which had been rapidly mutating, couldn't keep up with the humans' response. Their immune systems, honed by centuries of surviving epidemics, learned how to combat the plague faster than the virus could evolve. Then, humans began experimenting with their own biology. Some turned to genetic engineering, modifying their DNA to create more robust immune systems. Others enhanced their bodies with cybernetic implants, using technology to fight the plague's technological spread. No one cared about ethics anymore, they cared about survival. And survival, for humans, was a game of constant reinvention. What baffled the alien survivors most was the cultural response. While their societies broke down, humans found solace in creativity. They laughed, wrote, painted, and made music. Art and humor flourished in the face of disaster. The galaxy's remaining species could not understand how the humans could still find joy in such a bleak time. But for humanity, it was the very chaos of existence that gave them strength. They had always thrived in uncertainty, adapting to every environment, overcoming every obstacle. It was ingrained in their nature. The virus did not scare them, it challenged them. Human scientists, engineers, and doctors didn't wait for the disease to kill them, they fought it head-on. They learned how to live with the plague, not by trying to defeat it outright, but by finding ways to coexist. Some colonies exposed themselves to radiation to kill the virus in the environment, others used extreme heat or cold to disrupt its spread. Even when it seemed hopeless, humans never gave up. They adapted faster than the virus could mutate. In the end, it was this unpredictable, relentless spirit that saved them. Humanity didn't wait for the perfect solution. They didn't cling to traditional methods. They pushed forward, even when the odds seemed insurmountable, and in doing so, they found a way to survive what the rest of the galaxy could not. As the plague continued to ravage the galaxy, the surviving alien species found themselves in a state of desperation. Once proud civilizations, they were now reduced to mere refugees, scattered across the stars, with no place to call home. Their once advanced technologies and medical knowledge had proven useless against the Vrax plague, and now they were left to wander, hoping for salvation. It was then that they turned to Earth. The aliens, who had once viewed humanity as inferior, now saw the humans as their only hope. Earth had become an oasis in the middle of a dying galaxy. Despite the devastation that had wiped out everyone else, humanity remained strong, and for the first time, they had something the rest of the galaxy desperately needed: survival. The aliens sent out distress signals, pleading for humanity's help. They were willing to do anything to survive, even if it meant putting aside their pride and begging for assistance from the very species they had once belittled. The desperation was palpable, as entire fleets of alien ships made their way to Earth, carrying the few remaining survivors from other worlds. When the first refugees arrived, they were met not with disdain but with humanity's trademark resilience. The human response was not one of fear, but one of action. Humans welcomed the refugees, but with one condition: they would be treated as equals. Earth's resources were stretched thin, and the plague was still a constant threat, but humanity's natural tendency to help those in need took over. The human leadership saw an opportunity not only to save the aliens but to lead them toward survival. In the quarantine zones set up on Earth, humans worked alongside their alien guests to find solutions. There was no time for bureaucracy or politics, only survival. Humans shared their findings on how they had survived the plague, teaching the alien refugees how to adapt and live in a world that had been shaped by chaos. The process was difficult, but there was a mutual respect that grew between the humans and the aliens. Humanity, once seen as weak, had now become the beacon of hope in a galaxy on the brink of extinction. For the first time, the surviving aliens saw humans not as a joke, but as the saviors they had desperately needed. The humans didn't just offer their technology or medical knowledge, they offered something even more vital: hope. The galaxy's former powers had long abandoned the idea of rebuilding, but humanity was different. They believed in second chances, in rising from the ashes. It was this spirit of unyielding optimism that gave the refugees a new sense of purpose. For the aliens, working alongside humans was a humbling experience. Their own species had been too proud, too rigid in their thinking to ever consider the solutions humanity had proposed. Now, they had no choice but to accept human leadership and learn from their example. It was a strange turn of fate. Species that had once dismissed humanity's unconventional ways were now relying on them for survival. The human capacity for cooperation and their refusal to give up on anyone, even in the direst of circumstances, became the foundation for a new galactic order. The humans didn't just survive the plague, they found a way to help others survive, proving that even in the darkest times, humanity's most powerful trait was its ability to rise above adversity and extend a hand to those in need. As time passed, the galaxy began to change. Once a fractured collection of species struggling to survive, the universe was now looking toward Earth for guidance. Humanity had become the linchpin holding the galaxy together. Earth, once just one of many planets, had transformed into the center of innovation and cooperation, a hub where the most brilliant minds from across the stars converged to rebuild what had been lost. The Vrax plague may have decimated the galaxy, but humanity had found a way to thrive in the aftermath. Under human leadership, new technologies were developed, not just to fight the plague but to prevent future catastrophes. Humanity's ingenuity was unrivaled, with new ways to combat the virus, new medical breakthroughs, and more efficient systems for dealing with any crisis. Their radical approach, once seen as reckless, now served as the model for the galaxy's recovery. What other species had considered impossible, humans had already made reality. The collaboration between humans and their former alien counterparts sparked a renaissance of sorts. The once dismissed human approach to life, with its chaotic creativity, had led to unprecedented progress. Scientific discoveries, artistic expression, and cultural exchanges flourished like never before. The very traits that had set humans apart, improvisation, adaptability, and an unrelenting drive to survive, had proven to be the secret to not only saving themselves but lifting others out of despair. Humanity's success was rooted in a philosophy that no one else had embraced. No matter the challenge, the key to overcoming it was not to wait for perfection, but to act. While others waited for the galaxy to return to normal, humans built the future out of necessity and resilience. The galaxy, once teetering on the edge of extinction, now saw a resurgence of life. Humans didn't just lead through strength or intellect, they led through the sheer power of will, their refusal to accept defeat. This new galactic order wasn't just about rebuilding, it was about embracing a future where anything was possible. The surviving alien species, having witnessed humanity's determination, adopted this mindset. They learned to value the human ability to adapt to chaos, to turn even the most dire situations into opportunities. Humans didn't just survive the plague, they transformed it into a new beginning. The galaxy was no longer fragmented and fearful. It had become a place where diversity was celebrated, and the past was used to fuel an even brighter future. The ultimate realization was clear: humanity wasn't the strongest or the most technologically advanced, but they were the most relentless. Where others had faltered, humanity had risen. They had built a new reality for themselves and for the galaxy, proving that it wasn't strength that mattered most in the end, it was the willingness to keep going, to never give up. Humanity's madness, their unyielding drive to survive, had turned them from the underdog into the leaders of the galaxy. The Vrax plague had only strengthened them, forging a new era where humanity's refusal to be broken became the foundation of everything that followed.